Okay, I'd like to call to order the Westerly Public Schools School Building Committee meeting for Wednesday, May 27th, 2026. The time is 6:02. Members present are Kristen Federico, Mark McKinnon, Steve Marone, Mark Garceau, Mike Ober, Cindy Kirchhoff, and myself. We also have with us as a guest, John Scheib from TSKP, and Deb should be here shortly, Deb reading from Downs. First order of business is approval of meeting minutes from our May 13th meeting. If there are no modifications to these minutes, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
No. Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so for 5 ayes, 2 abstentions. All right. Next order of business is public comment. We do not have any members of the public present, so we will move on to approval of invoices. So, hey, Deb. So we have, I'm going to kind of take these a little bit out of order. We have application for payment number 17 for Dunn's Corner and Springbrook Elementary Schools for tower construction in the amount of $618,139.45. So this brings the total contract to 99.77% with a balance to finish, including retainage of $349,741.15. So this has been reviewed. It's
right now our monetized punch list is at $309,000.
okay.
So I relayed that to Tower, and that's why they adjusted the retainage.
Okay. So are there any questions regarding this pay app? This is more about making sure that we're closing out the project with enough funds to encumber remaining punch list items, etc. Right?
Yep.
Right.
And most of that work is the last change order that we did approve, which was mostly electrical work, which was A&J.
Okay.
And what about the reductions?
Back charges?
Yes,
That would be at the last payment.
the fine.
Right.
And I may have missed it, but there's a plan for to correct the spelling.
We do have a couple of quotes in to repair the sign or replace it. We could talk about that after, if you like.
I'd like to know where the monies are coming from.
It isn't ours, and the Tower submitted it and it was approved by the architect, so it isn't ours. I think you would think they would have caught it, considering that there's a sign right there on site, but we did submit, it was approved.
Okay. So we can discuss that in OPM and architect's update. Task at hand is application for payment number 17. If there are no further discussions, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay. We also have an invoice from AT Group Inc., invoice number 2026/00114. We're providing installing cameras at Dunn's Corner Elementary School through January 25th, 2026, in the amount of $9,988.53. This is a third-party contractor that installed some additional very unusual. Throwing a curveball there.
Yes, correct.
Okay. This work was necessary, involved device procurement and installation. So any questions on this one? Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the invoice?
Motion to approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, we also have, we've got some, Deb, maybe you can explain, the,
Ad services?
yes.
Absolutely. So we had some issues with the ejector pump, as we all know. And PAR had to return several times, actually 4 additional trips to inspect. And finally, came to a resolution. It was the issue. It was the control panel. And so they have 4 extra trips for this. This was a surprise that we were going to be charged for this. It came over this morning, but I do agree that it was out of their scope and it was caused by Tower not obviously completing the installation correctly and not completing it in a timely manner when PAR was there to do their initial inspections. So that one came over. That one I suggest to everyone that we back charge Tower for as well. The other is for PAR, and Mark and I have been going back and forth with DBW on this because DBW has been relying on Mark to confirm that work is completed. But my argument has been that Mark can say it appears complete, but we don't know that it's complete for the contract documents, for code requirements, or anything else. So Ed finally contacted, agreed with us, and he contacted PAR and got a cost for them to return. This again would be a back charge to Tower since this work was not completed at the time when they were on site they did an initial inspection and they did a second inspection. So this work has been completed since then. So this is all for work for PAR to return the site visits above and beyond their scope of work.
Does Tower agree that this is, will be a legitimate back charge?
I have not confronted them there yet. I've not relayed it to them yet. Just received it this morning. What we want to do is definitely get PAR to come back and inspect for the site work before we talk, even entertain final payments on the project. But
So
I can
who's,
do that before we schedule the work. I can certainly send this over to Tower and tell them that our suggestion is that they will be.
who's communicating to the consultants that the work's ready for punch list and back punch list? Like,
Who had been at the time?
yeah, was it?
That was Ashley at the time. And they knew work was outstanding, but we had no dates on when the work was going to be completed. That was the issue.
Okay, so we just approved a requisition that has remaining $350,000 left in it. How much of that is under dispute? How much of that is part of potential back charge? I'm assuming we're entering in some negotiations here with Tower on closing out and having a final rec.
There's been a lot of discussion with that because they're obviously focused elsewhere on Burlingame, which is substantially behind schedule. Another project I'm on in Providence and another project in Woonsocket. Yeah, we're very behind schedule. So their manpower is elsewhere, which unfortunately sometimes that's an issue. Mark, I don't know if you got immediate response today, but we had an issue with Dunn's today that there's a leak.
Spring.
Spring break, excuse me. You did get a
The
response,
response,
but you didn't get an actual person on site, right?
I can't confirm
Right. I doubt you're gonna see Josh, but if we don't hear from somebody tomorrow, I'll reach out to Al again. Don't give an immediate response. We have a diesel leak on it, spring break. So that would be the next step is to find out if they have plans to complete the remaining items on their punch list. If they don't, then we can close it out. They were very agreeable to including the amount of the monetized punch list in their retainage. So there wasn't any dispute on that. Before these charges for PAR, we're at around $91,000 in back charges.
Okay, so the proper way to capture this, because we have agreements in place with the consultant team, is for us to encumber this out of our owner's contingency and then just make sure that we have some way to capture it again, because it's
Absolutely.
one of those messy
Mhm.
things. I think what would be beneficial before we start getting too long in the process here is if we get a understanding of what the agreement is on closing out the project,
Mhm.
what is back charge, what does Tower accept? Because I'm assuming that there may still be some change orders that are out there that they're still under contention. No,
We're all
okay,
set.
okay.
That's what I mean. Like, right now, it's just work that wasn't complete or is in question of its quality.
Okay.
And,
So there's these two par charges, right? There's the signage issue.
the signage isn't on Tower.
It's not.
No,
I thought they had agreed in the past to pick up the tab for that.
no, they didn't. They gave us a change order
Okay.
of $14,000.
I talked with Al, was willing to pay for the smaller.
The smaller one, right? That's
Oh,
$50,000.
That was his olive branch does.
With his olive branch, yeah. I don't know how close to the olive tree he feels these days, but I know he's very anxious to get this money so he can get E&J paid. So that was his focus right now. As soon as we get this requisition move forward, I will contact him and ask him what their plans are for next steps.
Right.
Because we need this punch list closed out one way or another.
Just one question, the diesel leak, that's not a safety issue, is it?
It's very minor.
Okay.
Enough to put a stain on the ground and know that something's been leaking there.
Okay.
In the building or out?
It's on the loading dock side of it.
Still,
What is
not a good sign at this point.
It's knows.
Okay,
Okay, so Kristen did bring it up, but what is the status of the sign issue?
The sign issue, I reached out to the sign company myself and got a quote for the part that would go over Jones Corner Elementary School, which they'll bevel the edge on it, but it'll be pronounced, it'll be something that goes over the top of that. Thank you. Or to replace both sides of the sign. Both sides of the sign was about just under $11,000. And then the piece that goes over just Dunn's Corners is about 2,000.
So I just want to clarify, and I know I've said this 1,000 times and you're probably sick of hearing it. Tower, when Tower got it, it did not have an S on it. So that's why Tower, understandably, does not
Right,
pay.
all their documents, all the project documents do not have an S. That came from DPW. So they
Okay.
did a mock-up of the sign, their sign contractor,
Mhm.
manufacturer, and they submitted it to the DPW, Tower to DPW for approval. DPW signed off on it.
So they are the people who should be paying for this.
Right, and then that goes into,
We shouldn't have to pay for an
Doesn't
error.
need to
That's what
explain
I'm-
it better, right?
I know, I'm like,
Like,
we're
yeah.
farther in the hill, but.
yeah, we just
If
want
you
to
want
have
to
to
fix
know.
it, it should be on.
Right,
Right.
that's why we're here, to make sure that things are done and they're done right, and
I presented this to Ed and he doesn't feel as if, this is an error that they should be responsible for.
if you could kindly ask Ed why.
I agree.
Just look, it's technically the way that contracts are written, that there is a standard of care that typically if you're within that, globally on a project, the owner is obligated to pay for changes, to modifications, from the contract documents. The contract documents went out and theoretically were reviewed by all parties and had a minimum spelling. Then technically it is a legitimate change to a contract. That being said, there are errors that typically come up, and then there are embarrassing errors that typically come up. You usually try and make embarrassing errors not be an owner cost, in my opinion, but that's, other firms treat those differently, depending on their clients.
Well, I'd be more than
I'm
happy
not
to
gonna
have,
wait. Too far into my editorial on it.
to have the conversation further with Ed what would we like? I would like to see the sign completely replaced.
Yes.
That's what was in our contract, right?
Right, I don't want
That
to
was
see a
We should-
hair over the top of it.
No.
We're not messing with that.
Thank you.
I mean, the name of the schools aren't even spelled on the additional service request that's here, so.
Right.
I don't know, do we say resubmit it with the correct spelling so that they understand
So
how
that they
serious
finally
we
understand,
think
yeah.
this is?
Did they also do that sign that's right in front of like where the door is? That little white sign, or was that already there?
That was.
There's a small white sign
The ones exist.
that was
That
existing,
was okay. Yeah.
because it's spelled correctly.
It's spelled correctly there, right?
Yeah.
Even the board,
It's right there too.
Welcome
Board
board.
It has, it's spelled correctly.
Right.
and on the wall, or the new roof of the cafeteria, the big old
Exactly.
sign.
Yes.
We wouldn't accept it from a student.
That's spelled correctly?
That goes to the original
You
One
can't
of
see
the
that
original.
anymore though.
signs.
Okay, I mean, from my standpoint, we do need to encumber additional site, visits, with the anticipation that this is part of the closeout of the project with funds that are available. So, we have amendment number 2 and, amendment number 3, for a total of so I have, okay, let's start with amendment number 2, for $4,800, for 4 additional field visits, for, Dunn's Corners. Let's take them both. Amendment number 2 for $4,800 and amendment number 3 for $2,600.
How did you come up with the 4 visits?
They budgeted up to 9 field visits. And as of August 22nd, Bart has completed 15 field visits.
Is that in our contract with,
Bart performed 4 additional field visits for 7 total associated with the WPS system through the construction scheduling.
is it in our contract with them? With the stipulated the amount of, site
Well,
visits?
their contract is with DBW.
Our contract is with DBVW.
Right.
Did they stipulate the amount of field visits for punch list?
I do not believe they did.
We're gonna table this until our next meeting. Okay. I think we can handle, the PCOs as part of the owner's project manager and architect update. So let's, unless there are any other invoices.
Yep. that's it.
Okay. Item number 6. Owner's project manager / architect update.
Absolutely. And Jen, did you want to present the PCOs? You
Sure.
have your presentation ready?
Yeah. I'll do a spot there and then
We
you
can
can sit on it.
share.
No, you have that stool.
Okay.
I don't know if that's on. Thank you. You want to see it from here? Yeah. You want to? Okay, thanks. Okay. All right, so, for State Street, I guess, one question, just to go over. Last time we talked about the glazing, and we have been following up on it. We've had some discussions, kind of internally within our office. We've reached out to other manufacturers' representatives. We've reached out to the FGIA, the Fenestration and Glazing Industry Association. But one of the things that, where we kind of came through today and talking with Deb was, finding a third party that could come and do a kind of third party independent evaluation of what they see with the buildings. So we are pursuing that. We contacted, an individual today. We're waiting to hear back from them. But in terms of what we do as far as action on the committee, I don't know if you wanna, if we wanna put forward an action to, say not to exceed $15,000 in consulting services to review these, to review the glazing, on behalf of the school district. That's just one thought about how to keep ahead of this, so that way we continue to reach out and see if we can get that third party in here to review and evaluate.
My concern is that we have 10 weeks.
Yeah.
11 weeks, and this has been a known issue that's out there.
Mhm.
And I'm concerned that we're playing beat the clock, with students moving in to the building.
Mhm.
So has there been any commitment by the contractor or the subcontractor to replace a portion of the glazing up there?
None.
Okay.
None. I understand that Joe Vitro from ONG reached out to you.
I talked to him in another.
Yeah, he had talked about another meeting with the manufacturer, but as I told him, I said, until we have some ammunition on our side, and which would be this report from a third party inspector, administration consultant. I said, I don't feel as if, I feel this is gonna be another waste of time.
Wasn't this third party coming out? Didn't we discuss this 2 weeks ago though? I thought that was the plan
We did.
at our last meeting.
And I reached out to John yesterday and they hadn't been able to locate anybody. I found a company in New York State. A lot of companies out in the Midwest, but not too many around here to do this. But I know you had reached out to them today. I haven't heard back yet.
Right.
EDD.
Right, EDD, yeah, administration consulting company.
All right,
So,
I'm gonna request this. Can we, look at it for a time on Friday, to have a virtual meeting?
Mhm.
Mark, myself, and ONG,
Mhm.
and the subcontractor, because I'm concerned that we're already late in replacing the glazing.
Absolutely,
okay,
absolutely. Is there a time for them to do that?
Wonderful.
okay, yeah, I'm good then. Deb, do you wanna, are you gonna reach out to ONG or? Okay,
Well,
Is that-
right?
all right,
Maybe 2 o'clock.
2
Is
p.m.?
that okay?
2 o'clock, so we do.
Okay.
All right.
2 o'clock's good, so, yeah.
I just,
I've heard I've heard their side of it, that there really aren't stringent standards for this glass. And, there's nothing that says that they really didn't meet the requirements. I said, I'm just gonna say it in layman's terms. You should be able to look out these windows and have a clear view. They are distorted.
That's not expecting a lot from a window.
That's
Right.
simple. I don't need to hear any, specifications here on what is supposed to be what. And as far as I'm concerned, there's probably 2/3 of the glass in that building needs to be replaced. There's a very large amount. We start picking, he says, well, how many are we talking about? 2 or 3? No, not at all. Maybe 30, maybe more. So,
And this is gonna slow us down from moving in.
No, the goal is to get the glass replaced by the time the students are in the building.
I'm also thinking about the teachers though.
Right.
yeah, I mean, there's, just to manage, expectations, there's likely going to be continuous punch lists. There's gonna be folks that are gonna be in the building overlapping when teachers are moving in. But at that time, it's going to be a shared space. They're gonna need to manage around operations.
Now,
The benefit of this project is that the building, will be ready to receive teachers, when we want to move everything in. There are other schools where you're playing beat the clock, I'm sorry to use that term again, but right up until the day before students move in, and that's usually not ideal. I mean, Duns and Springbrook was that way last year. This project is in a much better shape, for it, so.
Has
No.
anybody experienced this where you didn't have to replace the glass, add another film to it that kind of reverses the distortion? Has that ever been?
that's, yeah. That's
Yeah, I mean, that's something we can continue to vet as well, but from what everybody has told us is that as they heat treat the glass and then laminate it, there's a condition where this roller wave distortion migrates inward on the glass, and and so what we've been told is it happens on just about every time you laminate a type of glazing unit like this, but I've never seen it like this. So it's an extreme condition.
Mhm.
And,
They're saying they've never seen it like this either.
well, I don't know. I think, as far as the contractor goes, they called in the subcontractor, and then the subcontractor got together with some representative from the manufacturer, came out and did the report and said it's standard.
Of course, they don't want to
They
replace it.
looked through that window and said it was standard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So one option I thought of is at the second floor, could we just put back an insulated glass and not a safety glass? Do we need a safety glass at the second floor?
Right. I think, I mean, we're not required to have it by code. We were looking at this before, and it's, we're out of the 1 mile from the coastal requirement for, impact resistant glass for storm related reasons. So then you get into so we're clear of that requirement, but the condition for safety and security, again, because that second floor is relatively high, there's not a lot of opportunities you shouldn't be able to get up on that low roof back by the cafeteria.
I mean, just a thought, if we get to the point where we can replace glass, if we just did insulated glass, we'd be sure we wouldn't have this problem.
But that's not what was in our contract. I'm sorry. I know, here I am again. I'm so annoying, but like, we should get what we're supposed to get. And not now, I mean, I know what you're saying with the second floor windows, but we opted for safety windows in this pool.
Mhm.
And I don't think we should.
Well,
What you can do on the second floor is do regular insulated glass and then put the security film on the glass,
exactly,
like most schools do, but
that is an option.
that's
Of
an
course,
option.
we're not gonna say we paid 900,000 for this product and then we're gonna take a less expensive product without a credit. But there just are other ways around getting the glass we want, because we don't wanna go through all this and then just end up with more distorted glass from this manufacturer. If we got to that point.
And we do continue to have the challenge where we received a sample and, the sample doesn't look like it was installed. So we are questioning that purely from ONG's perspective. That's been our contention with ONG, is why submit a sample of the product and then tell us, and then install something that looks nothing like the sample. So we're continuing to have that question and challenge.
Some serious conversations with Joe Vitro
Yeah.
and his PM about their quality control standards, all the way from the manufacturer, how these left the manufacturer's plant, how their installer installed these, and how ONG accepted them to be installed and continued installation. It's very concerning.
Do these kind of panels go into the projects you're involved with?
Mhm.
And are you seeing the same issue?
We've had, the issue not as widespread as what's here. In those cases, in those particular projects, the glazing was replaced. There is conventionally some distortion along the edges of a panel of glazing, but it's not to the point where if you're walking through the space, it's disorienting because you're getting that you have to look for it in the edge. It's, kind of similar to when you look for the marking that's in a piece of glazing. Like, you never recognize that there's writing on
Right.
glazing right here, right? It's kind of similar, for the
It's
distortion.
much more extensive, you see it. And
Oh, yeah.
those small windows in, there's probably a clear area, not this big in the center.
And it is disorienting.
Very much. Sure. We've been saying it since the day they were installed.
Right, yes,
That's a problem.
we brought it up. As soon as we saw the
And so
first couple.
this heat and cooling process is about safety or is about insulation? Because I've heard both, or is it both?
Safety. This,
Okay.
Yeah, laminating the glazing units is generally for safety, for the added security that it's not bulletproof, but it certainly deters and slows any kind of intrusion.
but John is right, that I've seen other projects where they do the insulated glass and they put the film on. Because the film is also
Yeah.
meets the safety requirement. And then you avoid this problem.
Okay, so we're gonna be
what,
Friday.
we gotta meet, just because we need the subcontractor and we need the contractor to understand that this is the highest of priorities. And I'm starting to be concerned that next week is June 1st.
Right.
And we have limited time to
Okay.
measure, order. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we're already out of time, for this. If we're replacing.
Right.
Okay.
All right, so I'll run through general project updates. We have phase 1 building completion. We are out to early June. We've talked about various dates for substantial completion with or temporary certificate of occupancy with O&G. We're trying to still get it before the furniture installation of June 10th. A couple issues that we're wrapping up is the elevator, getting the DOAS units operational and getting ventilation air circulating in the building. So some things like that are for the building piece alone, are coming to completion there. And then just to be clear, the phase 1 site work beyond the building, that's continuing from mid-April to late June. And then tech installs ongoing. And again, that FF&E install date, June 10th is the date slated for that. That allows for move in in earnest there at the very end of June, continuing through summer months. Phase 2 demo of the existing school will be July through September. And then completing the site work, we've been saying September through November, but we know that there's been some additional, the playground work. And then also we'll take a look at some of the other potentials on the site as we're continuing here. So exterior, they are painting the horizontal siding, the hardy board siding is getting painted right now. Continuing with trim, gutters and downspouts should be going on very shortly. We reviewed the early part of where they're staining some of the vertical siding. So this is some of the painted horizontal hardy board siding, and then some of that composite material vertical siding with the stain color. So I think we're starting to get a sense of the overall final finish as it's coming to fruition on the outside of the building.
Can I ask a question on that last picture?
Yeah.
The decking, the up top there.
Yeah.
What becomes of that?
That gets, I think that gets finished with like a exterior, it's called a direct applied finish. And then I think the color, I believe the color gets the same as the gray of the walls. I think that's but I'll double check that. I can connect with you in the coming days on exactly what that material is. Interior, second floor has already been punch listed. The first floor is coming to completion and will be punch listed at first floor very soon, hopefully mostly next week, to get that all wrapped up.
So this is a good example of, if we're looking at priorities of which glazing units are the biggest offenders.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it would be that middle, that kind of center horizontal run of glazing. I don't necessarily think it's as critical for the transom windows. But it's primarily, in my opinion, the glazing that people can look out and,
That doesn't have a shade on it.
Yeah.
You can't
Right.
cover up the window.
Still, there's just
Yeah.
so many that are not good, but all the classrooms are. Yeah. But I agree, I had not noticed those before, Justin, so last time I was in there, thanks for calling that out.
sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah. So for the change order, there are basically 4 moving parts to this proposed change order. This would be change order 11. It carries forward some of the CCD work that would be converted to change orders. And then there was a PCO that was part of a change order, so we've encompassed that one as part of CCD 6. And then there's a separate PCO 38 that we'll talk about at the end. So for the first part here, if you remember back in April, I think it was early April, we approved CCD 5 and CCD 6. CCD 5 involves some roofing work. It was for up to $50,000. The only part that we received pricing on thus far was the cricket repair over stair 3. That's the area in the image here where we had some of the rainwater intrusion back after very heavy snowstorm, and then that followed up with the rains that followed after that. So the cost of the cricket itself came to $4,759 for that repair. So that would be the realized cost of CCD 5 to date. There is this eave edge detail, basically an eave edge trim that would be added, and we're just awaiting the pricing on that now that the gutters are starting to go up on the building here. So that's the first part of it. Do we want to go through again? Usually, I guess maybe substantively, if there's any questions, and then vote on the change order as a whole at the end.
Sure.
Are there any questions on this? Because we did talk a little bit about this CCD when it was approved.
What was the not to exceed amount on that?
For the whole 50,000. And we're at, there still will be a cost for that eave edge detail. And again, you and I have had some conversations about what the unit cost of a piece of that trim piece should be. So we'll be very cognizant of that when we get into when we see the pricing come through from O&G there. On CCD 6, I apologize for the graphic image here. This one was for miscellaneous revisions requested for access control, door hardware, including power and data associated with revisions, and miscellaneous revisions that may be required for final FF&E. So CCD 6 is the next 2 items encompassing those. The door and the hardware piece came to $77,443. So we're already past the $50,000 allowance we had here on the CCD. That is, I can kind of break down where those costs came from. The door hardware itself was only about $12,000. the electrical costs were somewhere in the range of 10,000. There were a few on behalf of the door contractor, I believe this is the door and glazing contractor. There were some things that they had to go and change, including changing one of the doors based on the hardware. So there were some additional costs just simply to doors and frames that weren't part of the hardware. Again, so we start adding that all up. The bulk of that cost, though, almost half of it, is through the low voltage contractor for the connections to alarm systems and wiring the access controls back to the central device. Every door that was adjusted here was basically going to have a home run back to a central device. They said that they had to change out one of the panels because it started to exceed the system that they had. So there was a significant amount of cost there from the low voltage contractor who was a sub to the electrical contractor. And then with O&G's markup, all came up to 77,443. So then we did have the, I'll just since they're somewhat related here, or part of the same CCD, O&G did provide a PCO 37 to the tune of $7,981, and that one is for changes to electrical, largely related to coordinating the FF&E. We wanted to go through and just kind of make sure that all the FF&E as was kind of finally worked through had all of the had power. So we wanted to make sure we had power all in the right places here. So luckily there were a few, there was a much longer list, and working with Mark and Audrey and Deb and everybody who was kind of as part of that team reviewing it associated with FF&E and technology. There were a few things where we were able to move some furniture, other things where we just had to clarify what the power requirements were as a piece of furniture. But this one just shows the first floor. But there were some revisions to a couple in the office, 3 or 4 in the office area, one in one of the classrooms down here on the first and second grade side, one outlet in the art room. Upstairs, there were a few classroom locations. There were, I will say with this one, there are a few where our electrical engineer just never had it right in the beginning. Mark pointed that out, why there was no outlet at one of the copiers on the second floor. So we just tried to make sure that all these conditions got rectified with making sure the power was all going to be in the right place here. So that's why this one here, well over the CCD number of 50,000. So let's take those two now to see what questions you have and anything else on these.
Any questions from me? So just to summarize, this is all work that either has been done or is required to be done.
Yeah, because it was a CCD, O&G was proceeding forward with it, and they did bring it to our attention. We spent some time trying to go back and forth on the, especially I questioned why certain door leaves had to be replaced. I didn't quite understand it, and then we collectively kind of all really delved into why the low voltage number was so high, just in terms of materials and number of hours.
Was this time and materials, or is this a proposal issued a CCD to start the work and they're giving us a proposal?
They gave us a lump sum.
Okay. Any questions? Is this it? Is this amount, Deb, encumbered in your contingency reporting?
Yes, it is. Mhm.
The last piece to this, PCO 38, which was part of a proposal request we had put forward in association with the signage. In reviewing the building numbering, we spent some time going through it with Mark and Audrey to make sure we had the room numbering correct. Make sure we either omitted text where we didn't want it, and then introduced the idea at the top there of these clear window slots that could receive teacher name, room name, whatever. So we introduced to a series of signs, those room slots. I believe it was somewhere in the order of magnitude of 25 to 30 rooms there. We did, in some cases, we just outright omitted text, and in other cases, we replaced the text with a clear window. This is just a random sampling of the submittal, so you can kind of get a sense of like, okay, some signs got the clear window instead of text. Other rooms had no text, and then in some cases, the text needs to be there. After all the pluses and minuses, the net came out to $2,962 additional cost for the signage contractor, including O&G's markup there. So that's what that PCO reflects.
What's the size of that slot?
1 3/4 inches by, I think, 6 inches.
Any questions for this one? Okay, so though that's the extent of the PCOs.
Right, so change order 11 here would be 93,145.
Okay, any questions?
But that also eliminates CCDs. CCDs.
Well, CCD 6 will definitely go away, but CCD 5 stays open, I think, until we get the final number on the roof cricket. The roof cricket's finalized, but the second part of that was that eave trim.
Okay, sounds like work that needs to be done. Okay. So we'll entertain a motion to approve change order 11 for a total of $93,145.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
That was our contingency at what now?
With currently encumbered items, which I think a portion of them are reflected in this, $450,483. So we're doing a clever thing here where we're taking the percentage of the remaining project costs.
Well,
So
that was a
I
great
know,
point.
but
I know, it's,
but as our remaining costs go up, the percentage goes down. If we took a straight line
Right.
from what our original contingency was in the total project budget, we're probably closer to 2%.
we also have not realized the savings from the FF&E. I'm still holding
Okay.
that $86,000, even though we've only spent $640 or whatever so far. So
Yeah,
we still have additional money
my
there.
guess is, I don't know if I've made this analogy in this meeting, but I usually describe it as if you think of when you moved into an apartment or a house and you think you have everything, then all of a sudden,
Oh, yeah.
we threw out the plunger, right? Or, whatever, maybe that was a bad example, but there's always things that you realize that we don't have and we need to go out and purchase.
Mark's been working on that list. Thank you. Mark.
Do we have flags?
Definitions.
Okay. Are they the ones that are mounted on the tax strips? All right, motion has been made, seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Wanted to update you on the site revisions. We had talked about that as well. I wanted to just, O&G is pricing up impacts on changes to the site based on the site revisions. You know, there is some of this that is needed simply temporarily, and then there's some work that would have like long-term permanent effect. The one thing that ONG was able to get pricing on right away was the fencing, and I wanted to like fencing and gates and wanted to bring that forward so that we kind of know where we are with certain things and give you a little bit of a temperature where this is. So yeah, their pricing so far, and we haven't really reviewed it in detail, is 117,492 again for the fencing and gates, because what we're doing is we're adding fencing along, well, I think we're swapping out fence along State Street, so that we would have the metal picket fence all along State Street and then the sliding gate at the bus entry. So I think a good amount of the cost is the cost of the sliding gate there, out of that metal picket fence. So the red indicates where all the metal picket fence extends to. So basically up to and beyond the person gate that would be up in the metal picket fence at the end of the new sidewalk and stair that takes you up to Hollis. And then the green is the bar gate that would be in there. So that's a swinging metal bar gate that would also would then keep basically vehicles out of the bus loop throughout the day. And then the blue is extending the chain link fence that does come out to Hollis. It just extends the chain link down to the gate where you have the emergency vehicle access. So that gives you kind of an overall sense of the scale and scope of fencing changes and how the fencing and gates impact these overall costs. I really don't have a very good sense yet. The site contractor put some pricing together for the prep work. They are waiting for their concrete numbers. One thing we've talked about also last time was that they are looking at this idea of this add alternate price that you could further consider for the sidewalk from where that temporary bus drop off pickup area is on Hollis down to State Street. So they are pricing that up as a potential add alternate for adding sidewalk to the street. So after this, just for general review and discussion, while the total pricing is getting figured out here, we do have, every time the idea of pricing comes up, I do mention back to ONG that you do have an allowance still, that was listed, in the contract for temporary site work. So we're trying to keep that allowance in mind. But I don't, and I'll just say it has not been billed since day one of the project. So, not 100% clear if they used any of it yet, but I would assume not, since they haven't billed for it.
Remind me, are we providing a fence on the northern?
Yeah, the fence, that, as I understand it, that fence is in contract, so it actually, is there a pointer from this thing? No. I'm afraid to push something. It looks like there's a little dot there, so I keep thinking there's a pointer. Okay, I'll use my crutch. There's fencing, like, I think this is the existing fence.
Yeah.
And then our fence, sorry, the last thing I want to do is mess up this board. So the fencing for the contract would come out around, go up and all along the north perimeter of the site.
So basically have a runner to go through the woods. Does it happen now? Is there a fence there now?
No, but it's like woods, but they will also prevent animals from coming in. We've had a few of those.
What animals have you had?
Fox. We've had,
Bunnies in the basement.
yeah. Skunks.
And then Audrey had asked also, I know one of Audrey's recent questions was about fencing the largest detention basin there, the one that would actually fill with water. And yes, it is intended to be fenced. So I can respond to Audrey about that question.
Like type of fence. All ankle high, or we talking?
Well, I don't think it would be ankle high, but no. I'll have to look it up. It's not listed on this drawing. Well, it has filled up a bit during construction. It's not intended to stay full, but it's intended to be more free draining once it's complete.
2 inches of water, so.
Yeah, it shouldn't be more than, I mean, after storms, after storms, maybe 6 inches to a foot and then, or maybe more, but then pretty soon after the storm, it'll empty.
Okay, so this, obviously, this work can't start until we start demolishing the building, but we are going to have to make a decision in relatively short order.
Yeah, because this, everything is kind of, unfortunately, we've got everything kind of tied together here. We've got everything that you need to open the building in September needs to be in place. And that's kind of tied in with what we're doing permanently and then backing out what needs to be done temporarily. So some of the temporary work has to happen over the summer, and then some of the permanent work continues into the fall. So it gets, if you imagine it, everything north of this kind of bold line where the fence is now, everything north of it, well, in theory, everything north of it should be finished by the end of June. But you really have until the end of August. And then everything south of it gets finished late fall, early winter. So just giving the update, I would expect we would have this in for approval next in 2 weeks.
Okay. It would be beneficial to know what I'm a little bit concerned about is this window issue and whether or not we have any exposure against our contingency here. So obviously, I'm going to guess that number's doubled by the time we see the final number.
Could be, yeah.
You don't have to substantiate that, but.
Yeah.
And that's not included in the contingency number you gave us?
No, not right now, because we don't have a final number.
Mhm.
And we also have some good news, right?
Yeah.
Good news, right?
So there's some good news here. All right. So one thing that the hazmat allowance, the contract has 9, well, actually 8. There was or 7. Anyway, there are a series of allowances for what was considered potential hazardous materials. All that testing was done in April over the school break. No hazmat is detected in the sampling. So there is no asbestos pipe in the walls. There's no asbestos grout mortar in the ceramic tile, and then there were no PCBs. So in essence, all of those, we would do a proposal request to return all of those. I think we'll wait though to do the proposal request until like maybe the 2nd week of July or something, so that, that just whatever. Once you put a contractor in there, it's a little different than just sampling. So, but as far as the sampling goes and the testing and the full report that was issued, there's no ACM in those 2 line items, and there's no PCBs in those 5 line items. So those total about 240,000. We did learn though that there is some additional hazmat that was not part of the allowances. There's about 4,000 linear feet of pipe insulation above ceilings and in some chases. That insulation is going to need to be priced up by the contractor. So our consultant would do a kind of a scope delineation, and we would put forward a PR to address that.
Does that have to be removed under containment, or can that be gloved back?
I will have to find that out. You would think if you go room by room, it could be glove bag. But I'll find that out. And then I think above the ceilings, like if they're going to demo the ceilings and leave those pipes alone, like there could be a logic to this where they come in and do the demo that's needed to get to it, And then you come out and you specifically just remove the asbestos pipe insulation, and then you move forward with the rest of the demo.
So if there was no hazardous materials, detected in the building, what's the demolition? Is it?
No, well, there is contract
Okay.
hazardous material. Yeah, I'm sorry. Just to be clear, there is already hazardous materials in the contract, the small, VAT tiles and whatnot. So that there is material that is still needs to be remediated per contract. These allowances were kind of what ifs. And in every case, all the testing reports came back not detected.
Were there any unit prices on the bid form for?
That's what we're gonna look through, yeah, especially for something like linear feet of pipe insulation, like we'll be double checking that. I just learned about that piece at the very end of last week. After they did after he gave me the good news, then he said, oh, but by the way.
How did they determine 4,000?
Well, they were in the building in April. I assume they looked and tried to quantify it. They also said, well, they were referring that what kind of triggered this was kind of a deep dive back into some of the older HERA reports. So it might have been, I don't know if the linear footage was quantified in the HERA report, but
Did we not look at that when we were building allowances?
no, I think they missed it. So I'm, straightforward here. I think they looked at one of the earlier, I don't know how many HERA reports they went back and looked at while they were designing this.
Okay, so the headline is that, yes, there's some additional hazardous materials, but not as much as we anticipated.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
And no PCBs.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Which should help to expedite the process.
Yeah.
Get that building down.
Mhm.
And
Right.
the credit back should help to offset the cost of the fencing.
Correct.
Yeah, I
Right, so
just
this
don't
is-
know. I'm just trying to recall like what you would expect for a unit price for linear foot of pipe insulation, I don't know if that's a $5,000 number or a $50,000 number.
Right.
It's not as involved in the removal,
No, it
so
isn't.
it's,
No, and it's an empty building either way. They're ready to come down. So. But it doesn't rise to the level of treat the whole thing hot either.
Good.
The plaque, we did a run through on the plaque here. We took a variety of different plaques from other projects. I will say right off the bat that we'll get you a JPEG that, either to Deb and to Justin and anybody else and Dr. Garceau, anybody who wants a JPEG of the file to be able to just start marking up for us, because I have a feeling that's what we're going to be going through here. We will increase the font. I think we originally felt like we had the fonts larger and then we shrunk them all again. The plaque is going to be 30 inches tall by 24 inches wide. These are the same size fonts we had on one of our other plaques, and it actually reads pretty well. But I do think we could go a little larger with all the people's names, even if it's instead of 12 point, go to 12.5 or something like that, something incremental to get the names larger. But we did the school committee, the school building committee, the town council, the school principal, superintendent of schools, director of facilities, architect, owner's rep, general contractor, and the statement that Dr. Garceau and Audrey worked on here. Thank you to everyone who has supported educational infrastructure, including the Westerly Vision 2020 Committee, a community-driven, citizen-led advisory group focused on developing a long-term strategic and facilities plan for Westerly, Rhode Island. So if we need to add.
yeah, where did you get that roster of the?
Website.
Okay.
So if there are changes that have occurred, if there's been a vote recently or anything like that,
So
we're all ears on
Yeah.
roster updates.
So
Okay,
you got a little shark or?
what's that?
Got the bulldog.
I guess, so if we can, if we can distribute this and just get maybe that can be a homework item for everybody. Bring your comments back to the next meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
Have we had, I should know this, have we had officer, nominations or anything here? Are we going to have
This,
a secretary? What's that?
for this view?
Yeah, I guess I can give you what,
The website does not list who the chair and vice chair are. I just went from knowledge there. So it doesn't say anything about the school committee, and the town council either. It doesn't list.
we'll get you that. info.
So either we add it to those or take it off the school building committee or whatever.
I've asked Mike to run the meeting and when I'm absent, but I don't know if technically, are you technically the vice chair? Okay.
I don't think that decision was ever made. I think.
I don't think
It just didn't-
we as a body have ever had officer nominations.
Okay, got it.
I think when this committee was first established, I don't know if we even voted on me being chair or if I was assigned chair. I guess I gotta look back.
You weren't here then, I do it.
That's the longest meeting.
It's right. I just know that I am. So
The first Google.
if we did go through some charter revisions, I'll look back and see if we're delinquent and actually having different, elections and nominations.
Just so that we don't do this on two schools. On the Westerly website, it's State Street Elementary. Just want to make sure we get this right before we finalize it, right?
You know, you could, I mean.
Well, that sign is.
Some things you would see,
There we go.
right?
That sign is already under construction, the big sign.
There you go. Right.
We typically, I feel like in this town, go by State Street School, Dunn's Corner
Right.
School, Spring
Right.
School. We never really use the elementary unless we have to like acknowledge it's an elementary school. I feel like,
Yeah, that's, yeah.
yeah, we say SES,
Right.
yes, SES,
Right.
W, you know.
Well, SES is Springbrook Elementary, but that's the
Oh,
only one.
right.
Oh, yeah,
That's just because we don't,
Because it's only
we
one
don't want
word.
to have an SS or.
yeah, you're right. Rich said the-
I know.
That's just.
School committee membership is a little fluid.
Yeah.
So,
I think you got it though.
I looked at the website.
as of today,
So today.
But definitely the subcommittee.
Yeah, I think that was because, I don't think Steve's on there, Cindy's not on there, Dan, Chris, Giuseppe.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I just took them off the website.
Do you want all your acronyms stuff on there?
Here we go. They weren't on the website, so.
They charge us by the letter.
I think the way these things, is this like brass, bronze, black? It just gets pressed, right?
I think so, yeah, I think it just gets pressed these days. They just do almost like a laser etching of exactly what we hand them as a file. I believe the spec required, it was gonna have like I think we have a choice of like, like an aluminum silver color or a brass color. And then the black is the background. So the lettering is silver and the background's black, I believe.
So here's what we need to do. Everybody needs to review this.
Yeah, I'll get you a
with it.
JPEG file.
Once we land on it, we should send it to the school committee, the town council, make sure that everybody's names are spelled correctly, how they want to appear. Make sure if people want to have their middle initials in, that we have people listed both on the school committee and the school building subcommittee. Is it appropriate to list them twice or?
Yeah.
Or do we list, yeah. Okay.
And that was, the website had middle initials. Just left them on for the school committee and the town council, but the school building subcommittee did not have middle initials. So
Maybe it's manager name, because I think I've seen that on the
Yeah.
transfer station. I think it has.
Yep.
Where the town manager.
John's name should be on.
okay, all right.
It's like the director of facilities with the town manager.
You sure?
add the director of facilities phone number.
Any problems? Call.
Complaints, call Mark.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, so we'll update that. We'll do some quick updates and then get you the file and. send it
Interesting
around.
that you put the OPM in the middle on the bottom. Is that the way it goes?
I don't know.
Usually the architect puts their
Yeah.
one right in the middle.
No, it can be whatever.
Well, the way you've got it, I guess that kind of balances it off. Who's representative?
By having it go 2 lines, I think we had it, I think that was we were more concerned with visual balance. All right, okay, so I think that's everything, yeah. Okay. All right, thanks.
I did confirm with Joe Vitro, he is available for 2 o'clock, but he had to. Right time.
I would, my request. I know it's Wednesday night and we have Thursday to Friday. I would prefer that this meeting isn't a, what are we gonna do about the glass? I would prefer to have options for discussion on what our paths forward are. Okay? We don't have time to establish an evaluation process, pricing, any of that.
Right.
We're already behind the 8 ball in replacing everything. Okay. Okay, anything else? I thought this was gonna be a quick meeting. Okay, item number 7, capital projects update.
Not much to update on the capital projects, but I wanted to bring up a program that is interesting that Westerly may be a good candidate for. In response to Rhode Island Energy's rising electric costs, we're trying to find any ways to save a few dollars. They have a program called a demand response. We're going to be looking into it with our HVAC controller during the summer months. Peak hours, we would scale down our usage. And from talking to them, it's essentially our unoccupied set points that we have in these buildings where we have a control zone. They usually don't go into effect till later at night. That would essentially move that from like a 6 to 8 p.m. up to maybe a 4 p.m. And it's no, we don't have to do it. They would like you to do it, but you get billed, you get paid by the number of kilowatts you save that you take off the grid. We had an event, we had graduation going on. We're not going to scale down. We didn't save any kilowatts that day. We don't get any dollars for that. Next day, we go into peak time and we go into unoccupied mode. We'll save some kilowatts. We'll get reimbursed for them. So we're exploring that program to make sure it's a good fit. Initially, their numbers, they think we can come up to maybe $30,000 to $40,000 annually. So we're going to try to increase this with some of the elementary schools. We were just looking at high school and middle school for this program. Want to see how these elementary schools perform for a few years before we kind of step into this kind of program to see how it works. But
What's the potential downside?
I don't see one.
Yeah, I don't feel one.
As long as our controls can set back the building's occupancy, we go from 72 to 78, we'll save the kilowatts. And it's mostly on HVAC. Everything's LED nowadays. You don't really get much savings by turning the lights off in demand that Rhode Island Energy is looking for. And yeah, there's really no commitment for us. If we can do it, great. If we miss a day, we miss a day.
Yeah, let's just, I'm sure you're already doing this due diligence, but the concern in, say, the summer months is, we have humidity and
Sure.
stuff in the buildings. We want to make sure that we don't. Okay. I try the same strategy at home with the heat, put it down to 58 at night.
How'd that work out?
Not very well. Although I'm guilty of boosting the heat as well.
The customers are probably as tough as mine are.
What's that?
Your customers are.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's all I have for that.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Any questions for Mark? Okay, next steps. I think we're in the mode, for June. We should probably plan on both meetings, which would put us at the 10th and, the 24th. We can evaluate on the 24th, the July 8th, the July 22nd meeting.
10th, I may not be here. Prom pictures aren't over. That's the senior prom. But
Okay.
some people might be happy. I think.
Some people will be happy or won't.
Oh, probably.
All right. Okay, anything else, for next steps? Anything anybody wants to see? All right, hearing none, we continue to not have any members of the public in attendance, so we will go to item number 10, adjournment. Would anybody like to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.